Book summary: Open to Think, Slow Down, Think Creativity, and Make Better Decisions by Dan Pontefract. Enjoyed the video. Please subscribing to my channel for more great content like this. You'll be notified when I upload new videos. Open to Think by Dan Pontefract is a book that explores the importance of critical thinking in our fast-paced, distraction-filled world. Pontefract argues that in our rush to be productive and make quick decisions, we've lost the art of deep, reflective thinking. The book aims to provide a framework for balancing quick action with thoughtful reflection to achieve better outcomes in both personal and professional life. Pontefract introduces the concept of open thinking, which he defines as a cyclical process of three key components: creative thinking, critical thinking, and applied thinking. He argues that by consciously engaging in all three types of thinking, we can make better decisions and solve problems more effectively. 1. Creative thinking. This involves generating new ideas and possibilities. Pontefract likely discusses techniques for fostering creativity, such as brainstorming, mind mapping, and seeking diverse perspectives. 2. Critical thinking. This phase involves analyzing and evaluating ideas. The author probably explores methods for questioning assumptions, examining evidence, and considering alternative viewpoints. 3. Applied thinking. This is where ideas are put into action. Pontefract likely emphasizes the importance of not just thinking, but also implementing and learning from the results. The book probably delves into the barriers that prevent open thinking, such as the constant pressure to be busy and productive, over-reliance on technology and quick answers, organizational cultures that prioritize speed over reflection, personal habits that discourage deep thinking. Pontefract likely offers strategies for overcoming these barriers, such as creating dedicated time for reflection, practicing mindfulness and presence, cultivating curiosity and a growth mindset, developing better questioning techniques, balancing collaboration with individual reflection time. The author probably discusses the neuroscience behind thinking, explaining how our brains process information and make decisions. He may explore concepts like cognitive biases and decision-making heuristics, offering ways to recognize and mitigate their effects. Pontefract likely emphasizes the importance of open thinking in leadership roles. He may argue that leaders who engage in open thinking are better equipped to navigate complexity, foster innovation, and make ethical decisions. The book probably includes practical exercises and tools for implementing open thinking in daily life. These might include reflection prompts, decision-making frameworks, and techniques for balancing different types of thinking. Here are 5 general examples that might illustrate the concept of open thinking. 1. A tech company CEO who implements a thinking day policy, where employees spend 1 day a month engaged in deep reflection and creative problem solving. This leads to several innovative product ideas and improved employee satisfaction. 2. A school principal who introduces critical thinking exercises into the curriculum, resulting in improved student engagement and academic performance. 3. A marketing executive who uses the open thinking framework to develop a successful campaign by first generating creative ideas, then critically evaluating their potential impact, and finally implementing and iterating based on results. 4. A healthcare professional who applies open thinking to patient care, taking time to consider alternative diagnoses and treatment options, leading to better outcomes for complex cases. 5. An individual who uses open thinking techniques to make a major life decision, such as a career change, by thoroughly exploring options, critically examining assumptions, and thoughtfully planning the implementation. Pontefract likely concludes by emphasizing that open thinking is not just a set of techniques, but a mindset and way of life. He probably argues that by cultivating open thinking, individuals and organizations can not only achieve better results but also lead more fulfilling and purpose-driven lives. The book may also touch on the ethical implications of open thinking, suggesting that this approach can lead to more considerate and socially responsible decision-making in business and personal contexts. Overall, Open to Think appears to be a comprehensive guide to improving one's thinking processes, offering both theoretical insights and practical strategies for cultivating a more reflective, creative, and effective approach to work and life. Key takeaways. Do you want to improve your thinking skills and habits? Do you want to learn how to slow down, think creatively, and make better decisions? If so, you might want to read the book Open to Think by Dan Pontefract. In this article, I will give you a summary and review of this book and explain why it is worth reading. If you are interested in learning more about open thinking and how it can help you achieve more in your work and life, I recommend you to get a copy of the book Open to Think by Dan Pontefract. Citing the title of Robert Frost's poem The Road Not Taken as an example of something people think they know but often get wrong, consultant Dan Pontefract offers a strategy for thinking more clearly and making better decisions. As he explains how his dream, decide, do system works, he provides real-life examples of open thinkers whose accomplishments stem from their deliberative cognitive practices. People tend to rush to conclusions, accept misinformation, skip nuance, or trust shallow assumptions. Instead, Pontefract says, pause to ponder. The effectiveness of your thought process depends on how well you sort evidence, reflect upon it, and challenge your conclusions. In his book, Dan Pontefract explains how his dream, decide, do system works while providing real-life examples of open thinkers whose accomplishments stem from their deliberative cognitive practices. Pause to reflect. Today, people are busier than ever. They have little time to do anything well, including the vital process of thinking things through. For many people, clear thinking is an increasingly rare commodity. People don't always get around to the necessary steps of thoughtfully weighing their options, building expertise, and reaching their own reasoned conclusions to solve problems and make decisions. Some outsource their creative and critical thinking to Alexa, Siri, or Wikipedia. Closed thinkers are unwilling to open their minds to new ideas. They seem to think it's more convenient to go through life shut off from new information and ideas. Too many organizations also function in a closed-minded way. Many people and companies need to adopt a new thought process to build their decision-making skills and agility. This improved system of thought, open thinking, is a holistic approach of reflection, decision-making and action to secure an ethical outcome. Open thinking calls for careful consideration, for taking action through a process of dreaming, deciding, and doing. With open thinking, you work through an issue, weigh the evidence, decide how to resolve it, and then take the necessary action. Open thinking is iterative, inclusive, contemplative, and interrogative. It's deliberative, not automatic or reflexive. When we think, we are using our mind to actively form or connect an idea. Thinking is also an approach, a possibility, a deliberation, an opinion, or an attitude. It can even be a belief or a conclusion. Reflection and action. Open thinking balances reflection and action. If these elements don't align, 3 bad habits can take hold. Indifferent thinking, habit traps people into staying with their current methods and thought processes no matter how self-defeating. Indecisive thinking, those who have a hard time making decisions constantly muddle over what to do or not do. They fall prey to endless dreaming, a state of mind that strategic management expert Igor Ansoff calls paralysis by analysis. In flexible thinking, many people are uncomfortable consciously thinking about what they believe or the actions they're going to take. They avoid analyzing their own processes and just plunge ahead. They choose activity over a weighted blend of ideation, pause, consideration, and response. The act of doing becomes the most important thing. Thinking, like eating, is something we all do. In fact, we are all constantly thinking. But as with eating, there are both healthy and unhealthy habits. Better thinking is hard, not easy. Better thinking takes time, not haste. There is no shortcut. Welcome new ideas. Open thinkers remain receptive to new ideas and information from a wide variety of sources. They welcome innovative concepts and view accepted dogma with skepticism. Open thinkers move beyond what they know. They acknowledge what they don't know, and they're willing to learn. They pursue discovery even if the new knowledge might upset them or blast apart their current worldview. To determine if you should incorporate open thinking into your way of handling information, conducting analysis, and making decisions, ask yourself 3 questions about the way you think now. Do you devote sufficient time to reflecting and dreaming? Do you rely on verifiable data to make decisions? And, do you take the time required to do things properly? Open thinking has 3 core elements. Creative thinking. Creative thinking covers ideation and reflection, which leads to better ideas. Mythologist Joseph Campbell became famous for his detailed, insightful discussion of cultural archetypes. His most notable example is the hero, the inspiration for the Luke Skywalker character in the Star Wars film franchise. Campbell gave himself time to reflect deeply, dropping out of grad school to travel and think before producing his classic, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Open thinkers are willing to wander and take the time they need to think things through. Taking time to think means making time for daydreaming, an essential component of creativity. When you dream, you stop and observe. You spend time thinking. Daydreaming helps you figure out new solutions and processes. For an aspiring or practicing open thinker who wants to pause and reflect, time becomes the most valuable commodity. Don't exploit your time, as most organizations want you to do. Explore it. Set up a quality time management system to protect your time. Don't overcommit yourself. Free up your day as much as possible. When you can, farm out nuts and bolts tasks to people on your team. Move your focus from the minutiae to the big picture. Critical thinking. Critical thinking centers around analysis and judgment. It generates better decision-making. Everyone has cognitive biases that get in the way of clear and logical thinking. Learn your biases, and compensate for them. Challenge your thinking and the conclusions you reach. Seek new ideas and information. Welcome opposing or non-conforming opinions. Collaborating with your colleagues helps promote open thinking. Ask people you trust and respect for their suggestions and advice. The more people you involve in your decision-making, the better your decisions will be, within limits. As you think through new approaches and concepts, realize that failure isn't a negative for people or organizations if you and your company evaluate your mistakes. Failure can have value as a learning experience. It can help you diagnose where your personal or corporate critical thinking may have gone off the rails. To make the most of daily processes and activities, as well as successes or failures, organizational leaders must be open thinkers who understand the crucial leadership qualities that go into critical thinking. Applied thinking. Applied thinking means acting on your decisions. Applied thinking actualizes your commitment to execute a decision. It doesn't focus on what to do, but on how to do it. To get the results you want, the how always counts. Set clear goals everyone on your team can understand. To inspire your colleagues to develop their own solutions, support the solutions they suggest and implement them in a process of planned action. Demonstrate your empathy and understanding about their struggle to find those solutions. Because external conditions will change constantly, remain flexible and supportive. Don't assume your applied thinking solutions will always work well or smoothly. They won't. Expect snags along the way. In any thoughtful endeavor, hiccups and curveballs come with the territory. Avoid letting your organization become a factory of actions. Keeping everyone looking super busy all the time may generate a veneer of efficiency, but busy work isn't efficient. You want your employees to be thoughtful in their actions. That can't happen when everybody is moving 100 miles an hour. Help your employees and colleagues focus on the long term, not the short term. Applied thinking at your organization. As you exercise applied thinking, be ruthless about the long term. Yes, you must accomplish things today, but don't get seduced by the apparent success of constant action. You may, by reflex, want to prioritize immediate actions, and you must stay vigilant about the short term, but always ask how what you do today will affect your core purpose and the shape of your future. To keep a close watch on the short term while staying aware of the long term, refine your in-house organizational practices, such as calendar etiquette and managing time. Recognize that information and processes will become obsolete, sometimes more rapidly than you can imagine. So while you must accept mistakes, the way you respond to these inevitable aspects of doing business will highlight the efficacy, or lack of efficacy, in your applied thinking. Build an agile, resilient, tolerant culture, avoid rigid thinking. Open thinker, Chef Peter Gilmore. Australian executive chef Peter Gilmore plans and supervises meal preparation at 2 award-winning restaurants in Sydney, Australia, The Quay and Bennelong. The way he works exemplifies open thinking. He applies creative visualization when he plans a new dish, meal, or menu. During this stage, he eschews practicality because it would limit his thinking, yet he never forgets that the dishes he dreams up must become workable menu items. He balances reflection and action. His dishes embody open thinking's dreaming, deciding, and doing aspects. To retain his emerging ideas, Gilmore writes everything down. He tests new recipes, moving among creative, critical, and applied thinking. Gilmore depends on collaboration with his kitchen team to develop, formalize, and finalize all aspects of a dish. He documents the preparation process and the cost of new dishes. He works out how to explain them to the front-of-house team and helps the waiters describe the emotion and intent of a new dish to clients. Gilmore's kitchens function as testing and proving grounds for open thinking. 10 essential guidelines for open thinking. Follow these 10 principles to exercise open thinking. 1. Allow yourself plenty of time to think clearly and comprehensively. Never rush your thinking. Open thinking is a slow thinking movement. 2. Too much thinking, rethinking and re-rethinking can become self-defeating. So can too much collaboration. After careful thought and conversation, move ahead decisively. 3. Never take action just to take action. Be thoughtful about what you do and decide what not to do. 4. Be flexible in your thinking. Let knowledge shape your ideas and opinions. 5. Write down your best thoughts. Idea flow is a continuing resource. 6. Be systematic and organized in everything you say and do. Scatterbrains are ineffective thinkers and planners. 7. You can't be creative if you're always busy. Take breaks to refresh yourself and create time for new ideas to emerge. 8. Dig for information to enable proper analysis and informed decision-making. Never be hasty. Don't settle for insufficient data. Lisa Helps, Mayor of Victoria, British Columbia, thinks people often leap to premature conclusions after reading 3 things on Facebook. She faces each situation ready to take in meaningful information. 9. Maintain your focus. Don't succumb to time-wasting distractions. 10. As an open thinker, include time to dream, decide, and do every day. Agility and flexibility. Open thinkers stay flexible and adaptable. Dion Hinchcliffe, Chief Strategy Officer at 7 Summits, an online solutions provider, says to try new ideas if old ones don't work. He developed a 5-step system for flexible problem solving. 1. Develop an idea or solution. 2. Try your idea. Experiment. If you fail, fail quickly. 3. Make the most refined decision possible. Continue to problem solve. 4. If you can't find a solution, put the current problem on the shelf. Focus on a new problem and try to solve it instead. 5. Maintaining a cycle fuels flexibility. Be ready to return to the original problem. This process educates you continually. John Dalla Costa, the founder of Toronto's Centre for Ethical Orientation, says open thinkers have 3 traits. 1. Courage. Open thinkers connect with new ideas, even if those ideas run counter to their current worldview. 2. Responsibility. Open thinkers accept new, verifiable information and welcome new data that move them closer to an ultimate truth. 3. Fairness. Open thinkers know investigation and experimentation often involve mistakes, which can be the greatest teachers of all.